analyst. I want to thank you for joining us today for my video comments. Do you know I've had the opportunity to talk with literally dozens of companies over the past 5 weeks about enterprise mobility and what they are doing internally about enterprise mobility. And I thought I'd just step back and take a moment to share with you some of the things I've learned over the past month or month and a half. Do you know, mobile technology, although fun and interesting, doesn't offer value unless it is implemented and provides an ROI. You know, I am really interested in finding out how enterprise mobility and mobile solutions change companies, change business processes, change business models, and change business strategies. I've been doing a lot of research lately on that. And you know, I'm really looking for and have found examples from the military, modern military forces, and how they've been using mobile technology and just all kinds of modern technology to revolutionize and change the way they operate. If you look at the military today, or even over the last decade, it looks nothing like the military did in the 70s and the 80s. A lot of change. So what has changed? Let me just share some things. In the modern military, strategies have completely changed based upon persistent surveillance, real-time field visibility, remote sensors, mobile resources, mobile assets, connected troops, unified communications. These are the kinds of things that have revolutionized how the militaries operate today. And I'm now studying how those similar changes and those similar kinds of technologies can revolutionize commercial enterprises as well. Another thing I'm looking at is, you know, in a discussion I had last week in an interview that I published on my blog here at mobileenterprisestrategies.com, is that in that discussion with Dan Ortega from Sybase, he said, you know what, it's not about mobile device security anymore. It's about mobile application security and mobile data security. He said, look, many of the devices brought into the enterprise are not even owned by the company. The company really doesn't care if you lose your device. What they're concerned about is their application and their data. So we need to change a little bit how we're looking at those things. And you know, there's a whole category with an acronym called MDM, Mobile Device Management. That's really not relevant anymore. It's really mobile app security, mobile data security. Another thing I learned in talking to dozens of companies over the past 5 weeks is everyone is looking at mobile projects. How do I do them? Where can I standardize and leverage what I did on the first 3 projects on the next 9 projects? How do I bring that all together? So everybody is working on mobility. And I talked to companies that had over 80,000 employees in the field. And they're looking at all kinds of different mobile solutions in different continents around the world. But the bottom line is everybody's mobilizing different processes today. One of the most interesting things that I heard from a CEO of a mobility vendor in the SAP ecosystem is he said, I want you to know something, Kevin. The idea creators, the real innovators in a company, are early adopters of technology. You really want to get the latest, greatest technology in the hands of your idea generators, your idea innovators, because they are going to be able to figure out how to revolutionize your business with mobility. That had an impact on me, just hearing how that, the perspective there. Also, in my discussions with SAP and Sybase recently, I'm really impressed by the fact that they're spending a lot of time looking at enterprise application stores for mobile applications. So app stores for the enterprise. They believe that one company can end up having dozens and dozens and maybe even hundreds of mobile applications. Those need to be somewhere. They shouldn't just be in a database. They're saying those should be in an enterprise app store, a private one for the company. And then you can build on that who has permission to access various applications. And of those applications, what data do they each have responsibility for or permission to access? So there needs to be a way of just showing them all, being able to say who has them, what version they are in, how do you download them, who updates, who is responsible for building them and supporting them. And I was impressed when I heard that and heard the vision that SAP and Sybase has, because I agree with it. Absolutely. You don't want all your applications tucked in a hard drive on some developer's desk. You need them aggregated together in a manageable place that's secured with an orderly security system, where help desk can access them, where developers can access them, where users can access them as well. Also, I'm finding out that it's really difficult for large enterprises to develop a mobile middleware strategy. Why? Because mobile middleware offers no ROI. It's the applications that utilize that framework and that infrastructure. Those applications drive the ROI, not the middleware. The middleware is critical. You absolutely need it. But there's no ROI coming out of middleware by itself. If your enterprise IT organization purchased mobile middleware and they installed mobile middleware, where is there any value? There's none, unless you have apps that use it. So I find it seems companies they very much understand the value of various mobile applications. But again, if SAP and Sybase are going to sell a mobile middleware strategy, there's got to be all kinds of ROI driving apps on top of it. That's how you sell mobile middleware. I also see that Sybase is really pushing Afaria as a tool to do way more than security. They're looking at provisioning mobile devices, provisioning mobile apps, being that integral part of that enterprise application store. So it's really an evolving strategy. I'm fascinated to watch it. And you know what? I'm impressed with it. You know, I criticize Sybase and SAP from time to time, hopefully constructive criticism. But the bottom line is I see a huge amount of progress quarter by quarter, and I'm excited to see where it's going next, and really looking forward to Tech Ed coming up here as well. I do see a challenge, though, and I'll just identify it here. I've spoken to at least 3 ISVs or enterprise mobility vendors that reside within the SAP ecosystem recently, and all 3 of them were actually pulling back from building more stuff or more mobile apps for the SAP ecosystem. Why? Because they keep hearing from Sybase and SAP that over time there will be hundreds of mobile applications coming out of Sybase and SAP. What does that tell an ISV looking for an opportunity to make some money? It says, look, this is a risky market. I don't know what I'm going to build that, you know, they may want to build an app, but they don't want to compete with their partner, SAP or Sybase. They want to build apps that complement SAP and Sybase, not compete head to head. For the most part, that's the strategy. But since they're hearing about hundreds of applications coming out of SAP and Sybase, they don't know what apps they can build that will fit that complementary category. So they're kind of stepping back and saying, look, until I know where I can make money in the SAP ecosystem, I can't afford to take the risk and build apps right now. Now, that goes against what I hear SAP and Sybase saying in all of their webinars and in their sessions, where they say it's very important to have a large, dynamic, and vibrant ISV and OEM environment. Matter of fact, John Chen said at Sapphire recently that SAP has 2,000 enterprise mobility deals in the pipeline. But he said that's only 10% of the deals, because 90% of the deals they believe are going to be closed by their partner ecosystem. So if there's 2,000 deals that Sybase and SAP are going after, if I do the math right, it sounds like there's maybe 20,000 opportunities out there. And the majority of those, 18,000 if we're using rough numbers here, 18,000 opportunities for the ecosystem. But if the ecosystem is kind of pulling back saying, look, I don't know how to go after these groups because I don't know where SAP and Sybase are going to develop mobile apps. That's a challenge. So I just want to raise my hand and say I hear that, I see that, and guys, it's going to be a challenge, and I'm glad you've got the job and not me, because that's a tough one to deal with, isn't it? Okay, if an IT organization forbids mobile solutions, the IT organization will quickly become irrelevant to the company. Why? Because enterprise mobility is unavoidable. So either the IT's got to get out front or get out of the way. I hear a lot of that out there. I also am impressed how rapidly the market for M2M, machine-to-machine communications, is growing. Matter of fact, all the numbers are enormous. And these are things like having your iPhone or your Android or your BlackBerry be able to control other machines or communicate and get updates from other machines. Here's an example I just came across the other day. New York City is working to wirelessly control and manipulate traffic signals. And so that's a machine communicating with another machine wirelessly and telling it what to do. But the three fastest growing areas of M2M are medical equipment, healthcare apps, and in-vehicle systems. All of us that do plant maintenance or field services know that there's very interesting reasons for your smartphone to be able to communicate with the equipment you're working on. So I'm fascinated to watch how that's going to develop and come out there. I'm seeing and learning more and more about how mobility vendors are using a cloud computing model. Now, the line of business is often running into obstacles with corporate IT. The line of business wants best-of-breed mobile applications to solve problems and deliver ROI. However, since there's all this slow, kind of glacial paced decision-making at the IT level about what mobile frameworks we're going to standardize on, what mobile device management are we going to work with, what middleware are we going to... Well, you know what? All of that is detrimental to the success of a line of business. The line of business just wants to solve an immediate problem. So I see there's some challenges and some conflicts there, and I see the cloud computing model being used more and more. What does that look like? So when a line of business goes to a vendor who has a cloud computing model, and there's actually cloud-based integration into SAP, they can actually configure a mobile app on a browser-based environment in a cloud environment and deploy it in the cloud. So there's really no middleware required that the IT needs to support. There's some access to various web services and integration methodologies, but that's it. So while the corporate IT is still struggling with how they're going to handle all this, line of business is going out to these cloud models, signing up, subscribing on a monthly basis, and deploying mobile apps today with very little integration with IT. Now, is that the optimal strategy? I'll let you decide on that, but it's a quick, efficient, and low-cost way of delivering mobile ROI right now. That's what I'm learning right now. I'd love your comments. You can add them right here on the bottom of this article. If you look there under the comments, what are you learning? Thanks for joining me today.